Hello, welcome back to the Polis. It's Matt, McKay, and Chris. Uh, so we did a video earlier today making our fan-made draft picks. So for this video here, we're ranking the MCU movies and shows into tiers. I think it's S to D. So I'm gonna share screen here. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah. Oh, S to question mark. I don't know what that means, but
You know what we could use for the question mark?
Yeah.
Absolute dog dookie.
Yeah. I think the question mark is for haven't seen, but
yeah, it could be that too.
yeah, I think I've seen pretty much all of these, but
Yeah.
yeah, I have.
All right. So, Civil War, thoughts on that?
I'm putting it in B tier for me.
E tier.
Yeah, for me, I'd say somewhere between A and B, maybe B plus.
I would give it an A. I mean,
I three
first MCU appearance of Black Panther.
Yeah,
well, I say B because the Civil War trope has been used so often in Hollywood. It occurs so much with DC.
and
Uh,
and there's also the fact that in the MCU they never got to grow close enough to properly be friends for it be to be that effective. I mean, in the very previous Avengers film, they were already at each other's throats for most of the film.
That's a fair point.
I mean, in Age of Ultron, they spent more time trying to kill each other than I mean, one of the highlights of the film is Iron Man beating the hell out of the Hulk. So
yeah, I think for
Yeah.
me, Civil
So,
War is B.
counter argument. uh, Black Panther.
yeah,
No, but in all seriousness, I feel like this movie really played on their morals, which I thought was interesting to see, especially with Captain America really sticking up for people like Wanda. And yeah, I mean, if you guys both think B, I guess I'll put it in B. The first
Quick,
Avengers movie.
quick question: is Deadpool on here?
Uh,
I think it's only MCU.
yeah, this is
Yeah,
MCU movies, and I thought it shows, or yeah, shows too. It looks like.
uh, it's the Disney Plus shows. It's not the APC stuff.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right, for the first Avengers movie, I'm putting out S tier. It was one of the first Avengers in Marvel movies I actually saw in theaters.
I am so
So,
Uh, I am so conflicted on it because now, with the knowledge of film studies and how films are made and all that, the it's shot pretty much like a TV show because it's Joss Whedon, and there's a lot of things that I would come to hate about the MCU later on that started in the Avengers because of Joss Whedon, because that's how he makes everything well made. Fortunately, he's not doing much anymore. And yeah, because it's Joss Whedon and he's Joss Whedon. But yeah, on the other hand, it was awesome to see for the first time 13 years ago. Well, 11 years ago. Wow, it's been 11 years. But it was awesome to see. So for me, I'd say, yeah, maybe C.
I'll see.
Yeah.
Uh, I'd probably give it an A. Because it does have that nostalgic factor, and I mean, Captain America suit is just so bad. So yeah, so I guess I don't know, I'll put it in. There's not really a place like in the middle, I guess, really. I don't know. Are you cool with B or B or A?
Let's put it as a B.
Right. Avengers: Age of Ultron.
See, well, I'd say B, but then again, I'm not actually sure. I've been watching I've been watching a fan edit of that film for years, but score.
I'm gonna say B tier.
Yeah,
That's fair.
there's
There
because
was too much going on in the film.
there were a lot of interesting scenes that were cut for no reason, and the, there was also the I thought the cinematography and the look of the film was much better than the first one. The first one, it didn't look like a TV show anymore.
Hmm. Avengers: Infinity War. For me, it's S tier.
It's yeah, it's probably if there's one MCU film I'd put in S tier, it's that one.
I would agree with Infinity War being as S tier.
All right. I don't even have to argue that one. Nice. Uh, read what it says. Endgame. Again, for me, that's S tier again.
Endgame's S tier.
Well, I'd say A, but yeah, it's two against one, so yeah, S it is. I mean, that third act alone is S tier, so
I think that's the first one. Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm gonna put that as a
which Guardians is it?
The
the
first one.
first
The
one.
first one. I'd put it in S.
I agree.
I second that.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I put as a D.
Uh,
Wow.
I'd say B, maybe.
I was
It
gonna
has
say
its moments,
A.
but it has a lot of good moments, but they gave Gunn a bit too much freedom there, and Gunn decided to be, yeah, he decided to be himself.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as say Peacemaker, but you definitely see a lot of toilet humor in that one.
Okay. Yeah. It's fair. I
Eh,
think making Peter like the Celestial with ego, I feel like that was a lot to take in for the audience, and they had to backpedal real quick.
Mhm.
the reason I give it a D, I felt there was too much humor
Yeah,
for a superhero film.
and not just that, it's James Gunn's special brand of humor, which just feels so off. It's mostly either sexual or toilet humor. I mean, that's the kind of humor he's built his career around, basically. And yeah,
I think maybe split the difference between B and C, and let's put it at B and D. I mean, and put it as a C.
yeah.
Ant-Man.
Oh, that is Ant-Man. I'm gonna have to do.
I put it at C, but I'm just not a fan of Ant-Man. That's my opinion.
Ant-Man. I mean,
I've
and
I've seen it. I'm gonna
it's
give it an E.
I'd say the first Ant-Man it's a C. The second one, I mean, I know that's a bit of a jump away, but yeah, the second one for me was fun, but I'd put that one in a D. So Ant-Man C, Ant-Man and the Wasp D. That's my that's my rating of him.
I put Ant-Man and the Wasp as a little higher than the first Ant-Man. But if I could also live with D for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I mean, I enjoyed it fine as a film, but as a Marvel film, yeah.
That's a fair point.
I mean, I like the family aspect of it, but
Yeah.
the yeah,
Yeah, no, I really like Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp. I feel like she did a great job portraying that character. I didn't like how they handled Ghost.
Yeah.
I feel like she was just kind of the shoe-in villain for that. So yeah, I'll put it in D.
I didn't like how they handled any of the antagonists because you can't really call any of them villains. And I was hoping we'd see Bill Foster actually get to be Goliath in the film. I mean, they even hired a high-profile actor. They hired Lawrence Fishburne. So
Yeah, Doctor
Doctor,
Strange.
I have to put this as an S tier, and here's why. The first time I saw that movie, I was taking a class on the Tibetan Book of the Dead,
but which one?
Doctor Strange.
Oh
I,
yeah,
I, I was taking a class on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and the a lot of the kind of the Eastern philosophical ideas that were explored in the film were very, very spot on. Um, I also really like, the story of, how, Doctor Strange loses his ability to use his hands to perform surgery, but that was not the end of it. There's always something else.
yeah.
This I this idea of kind of impermanence being the heart of the film was really, really spot on for me.
Yeah, I always loved. I barely knew who Doctor Strange was until about a month before the film came out. I was in Washington, D.C. I went, I walked past the comic store. I decided to go in and bought some Doctor Strange comics just because I wanted to read up a bit on the character before the movie came out. And I loved the comics and I loved the film because they adapted the character so well. They adapted how he overcame his injuries because I've broken my arm and it didn't it didn't last very long recovering and all that, but because it's a long story, but basically I wasn't mugged, but I was attacked one time, and yeah, the emotional part of that yeah, it's a long story.
Mhm.
Anyway, the overcoming that, channeling that energy into something productive because yeah, I've been there is what I'm saying.
All right, yeah, S tier.
And and that movie really connected with me.
That's fair.
And it was really trippy. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
All right, Iron Man.
That's an S for me.
That's an S for me as
That's for
well.
me. Yeah,
It, it started it all.
yeah. Not to mention, like 80% of that movie was improvised. I really like that.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
I haven't seen it, so I'll let you guys defer
Uh,
on that.
Homecoming, I'd say C maybe.
I I agree with that. Yeah,
I mean, I love the Vulture, and I kind of like how his ending, how the film ends with Peter accepting that he has to that he has to be his own man, which ironically the Avengers films that followed kind of undid. And Far From Home had to do the whole character arc again.
yeah. I think it's very different from like Tobey Maguire's first Spider-Man movie, uh, which is weird because like I don't know what grade Peter was in this movie, but like Peter and the other one was in his senior year, right? So he was already somewhat matured in that way.
This one, I think he's 15, so what? He's a sophomore, I think,
Yeah,
starting
so
his sophomore year.
he's pretty much still a kid at this point, which is
Yeah.
I feel really strange to watch in that sense. Uh, the next Spider-Man movie.
Far From Home, I haven't seen any of the newer Spider-Man, so I'm not the one to ask on these.
All right.
The I love Mysterio in the film, and don't really like anything else.
That's fair. I would probably give it a B, if not an A, because I really like how they did Mysterio in that. I really like how he played like that psychological game with Peter.
It's especially funny because apparently Jake Gyllenhaal he auditioned for Peter Parker before the role ultimately went to Tobey Maguire. So
Yeah,
he almost played Spider-Man. So it's funny how he pretended to be the kind of hero that Spider-Man wanted to be.
yeah,
And then yeah,
yeah. So I would give it a B.
I'd say yeah. For me, I'd probably give it lower, but yeah, I'd say B or C would probably balance it out. But yeah,
Uh,
No Way Home. Hmm.
I'd have to give it like an A or an S.
Oh, the I'm trying to be objective here and look past the parts I like purely for nostalgia.
Oh, that's 100% why I put it that far, is
Oh,
because
definitely, I know that. Because yeah, but like the third act is mostly the nostalgia filled thing everyone loves it for, but up until that point, the second act, yeah, Willem Dafoe makes it awesome there, but the first act is kind of disappointing after after the cliffhanger ending of Far From Home. There's like, yeah, his identity's out now, but yeah, there's not really any any real consequences until he actually tries to erase everyone's memory. Then
yeah,
consequences begin. His identity being public doesn't do anything. It doesn't have any real effect. The only downside there is that he can't get into college. I mean, okay, there's downsides too, but like the only repercussions he has to face is that he can't get into college
yeah,
because he's a vigilante, so he's broken multiple laws for multiple different reasons. Not to mention the fact that they think he killed Mysterio, but yeah, he doesn't even face many repercussions from that.
For me, I would probably put it as B tier only because William Dafoe is in it, and I really like William Dafoe.
I mean, sure, but like I love Willem Dafoe, but he's also been in a lot of films that I don't like. Most of them written.
My favorite William Dafoe movie is The Boondock Saints.
That one's been on my list for about 7 years. I still haven't watched it. I need to get I need to get around to it.
yeah. No, I put it in A just because, well, because like him, the whole identity thing was derived from Civil War, which unfortunately never happened in that movie, but happened in the comics.
Yeah.
So it's a shame, but pretty much the whole premise of this Spider-Man movie was to set up future MCU projects, which I understand. Um,
I mean,
but having like Willem Dafoe, Tobey Maguire, like
mm,
Andrew Garfield, like
yeah,
the whole thing, right? It
it
was really
it
great to
it
see
it,
one.
it, it was a nice love letter to the part that they did well was a nice love letter to the original Sam Raimi trilogy and to the Mark Webb films as well. Even though I wish they'd done more there. I kind of wish they'd used flashbacks, but yeah, Electro felt like a different character. Literally, he felt like an actual different character with different motivations and a different personality altogether.
Yeah, that was unclear on why they did that. But
Yeah,
I felt like Lizard was just kind of there in that movie.
yeah. I mean, the problem with Lizard and Sandman was that because of COVID, they couldn't get Rhys Ifans or Thomas Hayden Church. They couldn't be present. They could only do the voice acting.
Yeah.
So they were limited. They couldn't actually show Kurt Connors or Clint Marco. So they probably just had to write around that.
Mhm. All right. So what's the consensus on this?
I'd say B.
Black Panther.
S tier.
Yeah, I'd say S tier.
I would give it an A, and here's why. The last act of that god awful CGI fight, that was a little too much for me to see.
I mean, if we're gonna drag things down with the CGI, we're gonna drag the Spider-Man films way down,
Yeah.
especially No Way Home.
Other than that, that was my only issue with that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. I mean,
I'm
there was
fine with A tier as well, but for me
A
it's
A
S
A
tier.
is A is fine for me too. I mean, one of my biggest issues with the film at the time, I now know the real life reason for, so I don't see it as an issue anymore.
Yeah.
That was the lack of T'Challa in most of the film, but that was because of his illness.
Yeah.
So,
Captain Marvel.
F.
uh, E maybe. I mean, there.
I give it an F because what happened after that film came out. I'm gonna go back. What Brie Larson? She is a talented actress. However, I feel like she allows her personal politics to get into it way too much. And I felt with I've seen bits and pieces of Captain Marvel, but I feel that because of that, it's an F for me because everything that I've read, everything that I've seen, a lot of the commentators all comment on the same thing, regardless of their political spectrum. They all say that Captain Marvel was very a politically motivated film. It
uh,
was.
mm, that's that wasn't really my take on it per se, but it's I'd say it definitely. I mean, it wants to be Wonder Woman so bad, but at the same time, it kind of you it does. I don't know if I should word it the way I'm thinking of it, but it's a bit too pro military maybe. I don't know, but
I There's that
uh,
aspect of it too. Um,
what annoys me, I don't even know if I can truly call it political or not, but what annoys me is that they decided to make the Kree Skrull war one-sided when in the in the comics the war is there are both sides are bad. Both sides have good points and bad points, and both sides will destroy everything in their path for victory. While in the Captain Marvel film, they made the Skrulls into victims.
Yeah.
for me, I give it an F. Um,
I personally didn't find it as bad. Like I would give it maybe a D or an E.
Yeah, I'd say D
Like
or E.
visually appealing, I thought it was decent.
I mean, I
let's give it a D then.
I just found it boring for the most part, but what really dragged it down for me was how
Hey,
they.
we gotta be cognizant of time. I'm looking at
Oh,
what the
sorry.
rest. Yeah,
There we got like 8 minutes.
But
Black
yeah,
Widow.
Black Widow, I'd say D.
D as
Starts off
well.
I'd give
starts
it.
off strong and then really falls apart.
I would give it like a B. Just because Yelena was a great character. Pretty much everyone who saw that movie fell in love with her,
She was the saving grace of the film.
right? And David Harbour's character, Red Guardian,
Oh,
like I thought he did a great job doing that.
he was a drunk drunk dumb Russian stereotype, which yeah is a bit overdone.
Yeah, I mean they did derive that the Red Guardian character from Black Widow's love interest in the early comics, which was a little odd to see in this movie, but I think they made it work.
Yeah. I like the changed dynamics, even though it's kind of funny how back in the old days, comic Marvel fans used to ship Nat and Elena before the movies made them adoptive sisters.
Yeah.
That's
So, C, is that okay?
See,
yeah, sure.
Shang-Chi. I mean, Chris and I have talked about this before. It's just
I haven't seen it.
okay. The movie lacked in some aspects.
It's decent until the third act, but yeah,
It made a lot of connections and just dropped them all just for no apparent reason. So I would give it like a C.
yep. I'd say C too.
Eternals. I've only seen the movie once, so it's been a while, so I can't really give a proper judgment on that. But
I'd say B. I loved it. I
I
mean,
haven't seen it.
I just thought it looked really cool, and I liked that it didn't have too much comedy like most of the MCU films do.
I do remember my favorite part of it was Makari versus Icarus.
Yeah.
That fight was just amazing to see. WandaVision.
I haven't seen it,
Oh,
but I've read the reviews.
I'd say C, maybe. I mean, it has some really good parts, but I think the ending
D
is really
for
anti
me.
the ending is just really anticlimactic. I'd say C, and it's
I give it
definitely
a D. I read the reviews and I wasn't impressed enough to
well,
see it. So
I'd give it
they
a D.
it's definitely more creative than Black Widow, and it's more interesting than Black Widow.
Very creative. It pulled. I feel like each episode, the first maybe three episodes or so, was felt a little goofy and a little off. But after that, I felt like it was kind of every
It
episode was piecing things together, which I liked.
I liked how it kind of felt like Black Mirror.
Yeah,
It had that uncanny feeling, which is why I loved how it felt so goofy and normal because
yeah,
it was just a bit too cheesy, too normal,
yeah.
which added to the horror factor
four
of it.
minute warning.
Yeah, sorry.
Uh, I would give it a B. Uh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Again, I haven't seen
Uh,
that in a
I'd
while.
get
Haven't
I'd
seen it.
I'd say A. Well, no, not A. B. Say B.
I do really like the duo, uh, but from what I remember, I felt kind of underwhelmed with that show.
Yeah.
We got 3 minutes. So and here you're closing in.
Iron Man 2.
That's
A that's an A for me.
it's B for me, but yeah, I do have a lot of fond memories from it.
Also A. Loki. That's an A
Uh,
for me.
A for me.
What If is that's also an A, if
C,
not an S.
I'd say C because half the stuff is good, the other half isn't. That's the problem with shows. They aren't really consistent.
All right, McKay, what do you think?
I haven't seen it.
All right, I'll put it in B then. Just kind of even. Hawkeye. That's
I
Uh,
haven't seen it.
A for me.
I'm putting it in S. Sorry, dude. I, okay, and real quick, here's why. I really like how they played into Clint's I don't know how you would say it. His I don't know.
It's
His
deafness.
humanity, I guess. Right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
especially when it has
Two
the
minutes.
flashback of him like falling through windows and explosions and all that.
Yeah.
It really goes to show that. Moon Knight,
Haven't seen it.
it's an
Oh, I'd say D.
oh buddy. All right.
The little I've only read a little bit of about Moon Knight and whatever that show was, it wasn't Moon Knight.
I thought it was amusing to see. I'll put it in B as just in the middle. Iron Man 3.
C.
S. No, okay, I'm not S, but yeah, A.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll put it in B. Hulk.
S.
S.
I thought it was a little bit boring, but Thor.
1 minute.
Some
Uh,
S.
A.
that's S for me.
S.
Thor: Dark World.
D.
D.
Yeah. Thor: Ragnarok.
D.
D. Well, maybe C for me. There are parts I like.
Captain America.
S.
That's S.
S for Winter Soldier 2.
Multiverse of Madness. That is an S for me.
Yeah, probably A for me, but yeah, you can put it in S.
Miss Marvel. Probably
I didn't see it.
a C for me. I thought
I
it
haven't
was
seen it.
unexpected, so I'll put it in B. And Thor: Love and Thunder.
F.
F.
I'm
It's an F, dude.
I,
okay, less than a
it's
minute.
it's the first Marvel, it's the first MCU film I just straight up admit I hate.
It's an F for me as well.
Okay, I'm putting it in E then because I liked it. Like I didn't like it, but Natalie Portman, Jane Foster, I really like that story arc. Like it's one that I own. It's one of my favorites, so that's why it's higher than F.
I didn't like how it ended.
Are you sure are you sure that there's some story elements, or is it just because of Natalie Portman?
Oh, Natalie Portman's like my future wife. I have no problem. I mean, we did put Thor: Dark World in D, and that says enough. But yeah, so the video is about to end. We only have a little